Hey guys, Marvelous Joe here at the top of the episode to remind you that the spookiest time of the year is here again, and like every Halloween, I'm always on the lookout for a fun, scary story. Luckily, one of your fellow Dynamic Duel listeners, CJ Kraft, has written another chilling collection of short stories called 3 Tales, Pages of Terror 2, which is a sequel to last year's book, both of which are available digitally on Amazon. This year's tales include There's Someone Upstairs, which is about mysterious home intruders, Mr. Cupronickel, about an imaginary friend with a special gift, and A Wild Trip in the Old West, about a scoundrel's nightmarish confrontation with the sins of his past. These spine-tingling stories are really effective at getting your hairs to stand on end, and they're quick reads, with the whole ebook being 29 pages long. With a price of just $1.50, I don't see how any horror aficionado couldn't pick this up. It's more than worth the money, honestly. So if you're looking for some Halloween chills, or if you want to support a fellow listener, visit the link in our episode description and pick up 3 Tales, Pages of Terror 2, and give it a read after this episode. Have a happy Halloween season, everyone. On with the show. Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, the weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, we're going to find out who would win in a fight between the Batman villain Two-Face and the Punisher villain Jigsaw. And what do these two villains have in common? Well, they both have effed up faces, to put it mildly.
Yeah, this is kind of like our Halloween Duel episode. Well, there's nothing supernatural about them. They definitely have, a monstrous facade.
Yeah, these are two characters that are pretty popular. Been dying to get them into a duel episode for a while now, so I'm really excited to see who's going to win between these two guys.
This episode, of course, is a tie-in to not only our last episode where we reviewed the animated film Batman Under the Red Hood, but in our next episode, we will be reviewing another animated Batman film, Death in the Family, which is a choose-your-own-adventure style film of which Two-Face is a part of.
Yeah, and we're getting really close to our 200th episode, guys, our big monumental episode 200, where we pit the JSA against the Fantastic Four in an epic team duel. This is episode 197, so look forward to that in a few weeks. But before we get into this episode's duel, we got to go over the comic book movie news from the past week, of which we had a few news items, including the story about how several DC films have had their release dates pushed back, including The Batman, The Flash, Shazam, and Black Adam. We also got news that Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be returning for the next Spider-Man film as Doctor Strange. And we also learned that Seth Grahame-Smith has been set as the showrunner for the upcoming HBO Max Green Lantern series. As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic.
Just a quick reminder, guys, to please subscribe to our show if you haven't already. And if you have, please help us grow our podcast audience by giving us a rating or a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on, or by sharing us with your fellow DC and Marvel fans.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone who has written us a review or given us a rating. Really appreciate it. And we want to give a quick shout out to our newest executive producer of this show, Isaiah Bethune, who recently joined that Patreon tier. If you guys want to become executive producers of the show and get special access to our upcoming episodes and our decision-making process for the content of this podcast, go ahead and sign up at patreon.com/dynamicduel and select that executive producer tier. But with that out of the way,
quick to the No Prize. So a No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
And last week's question was, which actor from a non-MCU Marvel film do you hope Marvel Studios brings back for their universe, and why? And this was hot off the news that Jamie Foxx would be returning as Electro in the upcoming Spider-Man movie. So we wanted to know who else you guys would bring back. We got quite a few answers for this one, but only 3 honorable mentions and a winner, so let's go ahead and list them.
Our first honorable mention goes to Dustin Belcom, who said that the one actor that stands out the most for him would be Michael Fassbender. He thought he was the best part about the newer X-Men movies. And I agree.
Yeah, now that particular franchise is over, the thing I'm going to miss the most is probably Michael Fassbender's Magneto. I think, especially in the movie First Class, he managed to capture the villain's charisma and menace, presenting him as both a villain, but somebody with a sympathetic perspective. which is exactly what Magneto should be. So I thought he was great.
Yeah, when Marvel does get around to casting Magneto, I wonder if they'll go like the old route or the young route, like Michael Fassbender.
Well, John, or I think it was Adam Speas on the Blast from Our Past podcast, recommended Ian Glenn for the role of Magneto. He was the guy who played Jorah Mormont in Game of Thrones, and he recently played Batman, actually, in the Titans television show.
Right.
They said he would be a good Magneto, and I have to agree with that 100%.
Yeah, that is a great choice.
Our next honorable mention goes to John Starosky, who said that his choice would be Jon Bernthal's Frank Castle / The Punisher, because he can't get past Bernthal's passion for the character, as his portrayal to him felt real. And I totally agree. Just like how I'm going to miss Michael Fassbender the most from the X-Men franchise, I'm going to miss Jon Bernthal the most from the Marvel Netflix series. Because while all of that cast was great, the one that I'll be most upset about if they recast for the MCU, if they do, would be Jon Bernthal, because I thought he was an exceptional Punisher.
Yeah, not only was he like the best actor who has played the character of Frank Castle, but the stories he was written in were just so perfect for the Punisher. They were great. I don't know how you could do a better Punisher than that.
Yeah, he did a great job of capturing the Punisher's toughness and anger, but also just sadness as well.
Our final honorable mention goes to Kelvin Mims, who said that he wanted to see Thomas Hayden Church return as the Sandman for the Sinister Six. He's always loved Sandman as a villain, and he would like to see Thomas Hayden Church take up the role one more time.
Yeah, Thomas Hayden Church is an amazing actor. I think he really got the short end of the stick when it came to Spider-Man 3. I think he should have had more screen time because to me, he was really the compelling villain of that movie. And the character design for that film was just flawless. It was absolutely perfect.
It was spot on.
And of course, if they're bringing Electro back and they are going to tell the story of the Sinister Six in the next Spider-Man 3 movie, it definitely wouldn't hurt to have another member of the original Sinister Six in that film. And before we name the winner for this week's No Prize, we want to give a quick thank you to everyone who gave us an answer and interacted with us, including Matt Estes, Shane Habazin, Sana Farhumand, Avmail, Adam Speas, Calvin John de la Merced, JP Lunai, Jeremy Orr, Richard Begrew, Dominic Wizard, Zachary N. Hepburn, Jorg Bailey, Caleb Albers, Bruce Flansburgh, Adam Speas, Colby Henches, and Neil Poling.
Yeah, a lot of answers. Thanks, guys.
But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to Miggy Madden-Geehan, who gave the answer of Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus, because not only was he perfect in the role, we'd have yet another member of the original Sinister Six. Now, I love this answer. It was very similar to the Sandman answer, but overall, I would like to see Alfred Molina return before Thomas Hayden Church, because I think Alfred Molina's characterization of Otto Octavius was just so incredible. It was beyond perfect.
Yeah, to me, like, Dr. Octopus has never been cooler than he was in Spider-Man 2. In the comics, he's always been kind of like dorky with his bowl cut, but the tone they set for Dr. Octopus in the Sam Raimi film was just so badass. The character design was awesome.
Other people also mentioned Alfred Molina, but they also mentioned other people along with him, so we went with Miggy for giving us just the one answer. So congrats to Miggy again for winning this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news. Okay, so in a story that should come as no surprise in this shitty year, the release dates for The Batman, The Flash, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Black Adam have all been shuffled around as part of Warner Brothers' response to the COVID pandemic.
God, how many times have we done this story?
Seriously, and how many more times are we going to have to do it?
I don't know. I don't want to think about that.
Now, The Batman, which was supposed to come out October 1st, 2021, has now been pushed to 2022 on March 4th.
That's like a whole 6 months. That's nuts.
The Flash, starring Ezra Miller, was supposed to come out on June 3rd, 2022, but that's been pushed to later in the same year on November 4th, which was the original release date for Shazam Fury of the Gods, which has now been pushed to June 2nd, 2023. And Black Adam, which was supposed to come out around Christmas of next year, has now been removed from the schedule entirely. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, what does that mean? Does it mean that they just can't find a good place for it? Or is it like in pre-production trouble or something?
I think The Rock said that they were supposed to start filming pretty early, and this thing was supposed to come out before Shazam. I imagine it still is. I doubt they would move it to after Shazam. We just don't know when that will be. And right now, we're not even sure if movie theaters are still going to be around by that time.
Right, I guess all Regal cinemas have closed until the end of this year, actually. They're not going to open up until next year, which is really bad news for Wonder Woman.
Yes. Yeah, that's the next DC film I'm waiting to hear about, whether or not that keeps its release date. Disney, in the most dickish move of all time, made Soul, their Pixar film, a Disney Plus release for no extra charge on Christmas Day. So when families are going to have the choice to, go to the theaters to see Wonder Woman or stay home and watch a movie for free, of course they're going to choose Soul. Warner Brothers is going to have to move, and I really actually hope that they move Wonder Woman up to Thanksgiving, where Soul was supposed to be released.
It's not going to happen. No big major releases are going to come out this year.
Well, I think if they release in theater and direct-to-video to own or rent, then I think it can make some money. I mean, what they shouldn't do is release Wonder Woman for free with HBO Max. They're going to want people to pay for it. So release it on Amazon, release it on iTunes, release it on Google, do all of that. People may complain, but it's the only way they're going to have a chance at making money on this film.
I think it was a pretty ballin' move on behalf of Disney to choose to open up Soul on Christmas Day for no extra charge on Disney+.
Disney is a super aggressive studio, and they're a-holes.
It just goes to show the value of these streaming platforms that the studios have. They really need to capitalize on that more than they're currently doing.
Yeah, now more than ever. It was incredibly fortuitous for them to be developing these platforms during and before the pandemic, because this is the only way really to release their films. That said, again, Warner Brothers shouldn't release Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max first. They need to wait a while. I will pay them to release it on iTunes. I will pay them.
Are you more disappointed by any of these release date shifts more than another?
I was really looking forward to seeing The Batman next year, I'm not going to lie. That trailer was incredible. I think right now on the schedule, it looks like the only film DC is releasing next year is The Suicide Squad. So this year and next year's end-of-year Brother Awards are going to be shit.
I don't even know what I'm going to do for this year's Brothers Awards. Everything's going to go to New Mutants.
Yeah. Thank God Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming out on HBO Max in 2021. That's going to be my saving grace. Aquaman 2 didn't get a release date change. That's still supposed to come out around Christmas in 2022. But if you guys don't want that to change, wear your masks. Everyone, make sure you're wearing a mask.
And keep 6 feet apart from each other and wash your poo-poo hands. And speaking of wear your mask, the next Spider-Man movie is going to feature Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Now, we don't know the extent of this role, but the trade surmised that Benedict Cumberbatch would be taking over the mentor-type role that Tony Stark had in the previous Spider-Man films.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not too surprised by this news. I remember when, the last Spider-Man film came out, everyone was talking about how Doctor Strange could be the one to erase everyone's memory about Peter Parker's identity.
Yeah, kind of in the same way that Mephisto did that in the comics in the One More Day storyline. So that's been a popular theory because, otherwise, how else are you going to protect Spider-Man's secret identity?
Of course, with the news from last week that Jamie Foxx is returning as Electro, Doctor Strange will also probably have some involvement with the multiverse.
Yeah, maybe Doctor Strange's magic will be a catalyst that opens up the multiverse and brings back Jamie Foxx as Electro. Or maybe something else will open it up and it'll be Doctor Strange's job to help Spider-Man close it. Who knows? But now that he's on board, my previous theory that they were going to go the same route with Electro as they did with J. Jonah Jameson, where it's just the same actor playing a different version of the same character, I think that's kind of gone out of the window. Because with Doctor Strange, we know the multiverse is going to be addressed, and now it seems like anyone who's ever played any sort of character within a Marvel film is up for grabs for this particular story. I don't think they could go too crazy with it, though. I think they should definitely save a lot of that dimension hopping for the Doctor Strange sequel. But this is a great way for them to be able to set up the Sinister Six threat faster. Possibly even incorporate some elements from the Into the Spider-Verse animated film that came out a few years ago. I really like the different vibe that this relationship will bring to the film due to the mystic nature of Doctor Strange. And, those two characters teamed up a lot back in the Silver Age comics because Ditko designed both of those characters.
Right.
So I think it's going to have a very classic feel to it.
I could already see the movie poster where both of them are just doing like that hand symbol with their hands, like the I love you sign.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a thing.
Definitely. I can't wait to see if we get more casting announcements for the Spider-Man movie and to see if we get more information on exactly how large of a role Benedict Cumberbatch will be playing.
Moving back to DC news, HBO Max has greenlit the Green Lantern television show, according to Variety. And Seth Grahame-Smith, who you may know from the film Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or Dark Shadows, he wrote both of those, will be the showrunner for the series.
Yeah, I think he was once in talks to direct, the Flash movie.
Yeah, he was, to write and direct it. But of course, that had so many writers and directors. I'm actually really glad they settled with Andy Muschietti, because to me, honestly, Seth Grahame-Smith does not have a proven track record. So I was kind of surprised to hear that he was going to be the showrunner for Green Lantern, because I thought that they announced earlier that it was going to be Geoff Johns.
Well, Geoff Johns has kind of had a falling out within the industry, both comics and television.
Well, sort of. I mean, right now, DC is publishing his Three Jokers storyline, and that's kind of a big deal. And Stargirl was a huge success. He was the showrunner for that.
On Stargirl, though, there were some rumors going around saying that Geoff Johns really didn't know what he was doing and was kind of an egomaniac.
Yeah, apparently the cast hated him. So we'll see who's going to be the showrunner for Stargirl Season 2 if Geoff Johns is out. We haven't heard anything about that yet. We'll see. We also learned in the article from Variety that the show is going to focus on a number of Green Lanterns, including Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, and Alan Scott.
I thought Alan Scott was the big surprise there, because he's not traditionally part of the Green Lantern Corps. So I wonder how they're going to change him up. I wonder if they're going to make him more like the New 52 Earth 2 version.
Yeah, they probably will. I mean, and that version wasn't a member of the Green Lantern Corps either, but he was gay. And I guess in this show, they're going to make the character gay as well. And I think that in the comics, they're going to make Alan Scott gay. It looks like it's going to be a really diverse cast with lots of representation. I mean, Jessica Cruz is a Latina, and Simon Baz is Middle Eastern. Guy Gardner is Guy Gardner, you know.
He could represent the bowl cuts.
Yeah, definitely not enough bowl cuts in media nowadays. When I heard this news, I was kind of disappointed. Honestly, I don't really care about any of those Green Lanterns. My favorite one is Hal Jordan. I also really like Jon Stewart and Kyle Rayner, and those three are not in here. And I don't know why. My only guess would be because they plan on doing a spin-off film with one of those three characters. Now, we know that some of the other recent announced DC television shows that they're doing on HBO Max, like the Gotham series and the Peacemaker series, those will tie into their films. So maybe this one will as well.
I guess that would avoid them from having to do like an origin story for the Green Lantern Corps within a spin-off film.
Yeah, exactly. The series will be co-written by Mark Guggenheim, who, you know, of course, did all of the CW shows, and he also helped write the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern film. So that's a confidence booster, right?
We'll see how this project develops as they go into pre-production. It'll be exciting to get some casting announcements with these Green Lantern characters.
Yeah, some costume test shots and some concept art. You know, Kilowog will be in the show. I wonder how different he's going to look from the live-action film. With all of the different characters that are going to be in this show, that brings us to our question of the week. Who is your favorite Green Lantern, and why?
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. But that does it for all the news for this episode, so let's go ahead and get into the main event, where we find out who would win in a fight between the Batman villain Two-Face and the Punisher villain Jigsaw. Alright, Two-Face versus Jigsaw. Now again, we're doing this episode now because we're kind of sandwiching this duel between the two Batman animated film reviews that we're doing, Batman Under the Red Hood, that was last episode, and the upcoming Batman Death in the Family animated film. Two-Face is going to be in Batman Death in the Family, so we thought that this would be a cool match to do now. Because Two-Face is one of Batman's greatest villains, and he's been high on our list to get into a matchup, and really, we never had anybody else in mind other than Jigsaw.
Yeah, both characters are these street-level mobster-type villains with messed-up faces, so we always thought it was appropriate for the two characters to go against each other.
Yeah, they're not too impressive, like, powers or abilities-wise, so it'll be interesting to see how this particular match plays out. Now, out of these two characters, Jonathan, whose face would you rather have?
What? Oh, that's an interesting question. Two-Face. I mean, I'll just take all of my selfies from the right side.
There you go. Just get your good side in.
Yeah.
So if you've never listened to one of our Duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. Now, what's a Monte Carlo simulation? It's a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
In our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters we use are based on the official Marvel power grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC character stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, such as range, damage potential, and perception, in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Running these 1000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, given that they're more likely to win any given battle. No character ever wins 100% of the time. Comics have shown that there's always a way for Batman to defeat Superman. We feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, we're both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, and instead of debating these matches forever, we just let math decide for us. So there's no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, though, we'd like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1000 simulations we run would play out beat for beat. So let's get into these character backstories for this episode, which is sponsored by Cufflinks.com.
Right, we're currently running this contest giveaway with them, so listen to our last episode or visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for more information about that, because you could win either a Batman or an Iron Man tie. And you should enter, because these ties are sexy as hell.
Cufflinks.com also sent us some of their products to review for you guys, so we're going to quickly run down their Green Lantern symbol cufflinks and Avengers Lapel Pin.
Yeah, I got the Green Lantern cufflinks, of course. And, just looking at them, they're really stunning. If I had to wear any jewelry regarding Green Lantern, I would have preferred a ring, obviously. But that said, these sterling silver-plated cufflinks with the Green Lantern logo are impressive in their own right. They're finely made. I would definitely consider this fine jewelry. And they're sophisticated enough to wear in even the most formal of settings. But, even a formal setting wouldn't stop me from throwing my wrists out and pretending to shoot lasers and create energy constructs from these.
That would be hilarious. I wouldn't be able to do the same with my Avengers Lapel Pin, but I could probably pretend to signal the Avengers with it.
Yeah, you just press it and shout, "Avengers Assemble!" in the middle of a work meeting or something.
Yeah, but no, I gotta keep it professional, and what I like most about these products is that even though they're geek-oriented, they're not geeky. This Avengers Lapel Pin is also silver-plated with a red enamel capital A Avengers logo, and it's about a nickel in size. I really like the clasp. I don't know how to describe it. It's called a clutch back closure, and it's easier to use than most pin clasps I've seen. It locks the position of the pin in place so that the front doesn't rotate, so you don't end up with an upside down logo, which is really nice.
That's cool. The one issue I have with these Green Lantern cufflinks is that I don't own a green shirt to go with them. I have to get a green shirt to match, because while these are silver plated, the logo itself is green.
Well, you don't have to go with a green shirt. They would work with any neutral colored shirt or any coordinating color.
That's true. Yeah, I could go white or black. That would work.
With mine, I found I didn't like wearing my pin on my jacket lapel because it made me feel like an official Avengers representative or something. I actually pinned it to my breast pocket, and for some reason I think that worked much better. It seemed less formal there and more like a button, I guess.
Overall, I actually kind of love these cufflinks. They make me want to get out of the house and do some fine dining or punching bad guys or something.
Look at these cufflinks. Pow!
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm really satisfied with this lapel pin. If you guys want to check it out, we have links to both of these products in our show notes. The Green Lantern cufflinks are $70 and the Avengers Lapel Pin goes for $20.
Yeah, and you can use our promo code DUEL15, that's DUEL15, to get 15% off any purchase at cufflinks.com. So go visit their site and see their Marvel and DC products.
Yes, thanks to Cufflinks.com for sponsoring this episode. And now, let's find out about the history and abilities of the Punisher villain, Jigsaw. Okay, so little is known about Billy Russo's early life, save that he was an angry young man who grew up in New York City and often got into trouble. He managed to squeak by on behalf of his astonishingly handsome features and developed a deep sense of vanity in his looks. Despite a promising potential career in modeling, Billy's true talent was murder, and he developed a reputation as a successful and particularly creative assassin among the Maggia, which is Marvel's version of the Mafia, and the Costa mob family. His gangster peers nicknamed Billy the Beaut because of his good looks. One day, the Costa mob opened fire on Marine Special Operations instructor and war veteran Frank Castle and his family for witnessing a gang execution in Central Park. Frank Castle barely survived and was taken to the hospital. While recovering, Frank turned to the police, but the officers working the case were in the mob's pockets. The Costa family tried to assassinate Frank at the hospital, but failed to kill him, even in his weakened state. Eventually, the Costas turned to Billy the Beaut to clear up their mess, and Billy managed to kill every single person in connection with the Castle family murder who could be a trial witness, including the police on the case, reporters investigating the event, other gangsters who could serve as witnesses, and other failed Punisher assassins. Then, Billy planted bombs in Frank's home, and after they detonated, Billy went to celebrate his success at one of the Costa family's nightclubs. But as it turned out, Frank narrowly escaped the explosions. Realizing that the Costas were going to ensure they evaded justice no matter the cost, Frank decided in that moment he was going to take justice into his own hands. Within the rubble of Billy's failed bombs, Frank became the Punisher, and you can learn more about him in our Red Hood vs. Punisher Duel episode. The Punisher tracked Billy the Beaut down at the club, slaughtering all of his men in a hail of gunfire. But Frank didn't kill Billy. Frank wanted him to live in order to tell the rest of the Costa mob family that he was coming for them. He then threw Billy face first through a thick glass window pane, tearing his face to shreds with shards of glass buried deep in his skin. Billy nearly bled out, but was rushed to the hospital where he went through an extensive amount of surgeries in order to piece his face back together. It was stitched in pieces like a jigsaw puzzle, leaving deep and horrible scars. Although Billy survived, he lost something greater to him than his life, which were his beautiful looks. He became unstable, taking on the nickname Jigsaw, and became obsessed with seeking revenge on the Punisher, who at this point had eliminated the Costa mob family and was waging a one-man war against all criminals as a vigilante anti-hero. Billy began sniping and killing random people throughout the city, framing the Punisher for the murders and drumming up public support for his capture. When Spider-Man fought the Punisher to bring him in for his crimes, Billy intervened and tried to kill them both. When the heroes realized he was behind the random killings, they teamed up and beat the shit out of him, though Billy was able to avoid capture. To save face, as it were, with his gangster henchmen, Billy later tried to rob a cruise ship but was arrested and sent to Rikers Island for the first time in his life. While imprisoned, Billy plotted to have the Punisher drugged so that he started behaving erratically. Unstable, the Punisher went off the deep end and started attacking minor criminal offenders, such as litterers, which resulted in his arrest and sentencing to Rikers Island alongside Billy.
Well,
Billy then started a prison riot to use as a cover for his escape and attack on the Punisher. During the chaos, the Punisher snagged a pistol off a guard with some bullets, while Billy captured the prison warden to use as a hostage. Billy managed to disarm the Punisher of his pistol and used it to shoot him in the face. However, the gun exploded in his hand due to the Punisher purposefully loading it with the wrong bullets. Like his face, Billy's hand had to be surgically pieced back together, and he was returned to his cell as the Punisher escaped the prison. A secret elite organization known as the Trust later brainwashed Billy while he was at Rikers into forgetting who he was. They orchestrated his prison release and had him join a special assassination squad, which eventually crossed paths with the Punisher, who was intent on stopping them. Upon seeing his enemy, Billy began remembering who he was and how his face came to be scarred, and he attacked the Punisher, only to be beaten. Tired of getting his face handed to him time and again, Jigsaw tried a new approach by secretly taking over a mental institution and brainwashing its patients into becoming killers dressed as the Punisher, knowing the Punisher would be framed for the crimes. It worked, and the Punisher was flushed out and sent to the Raft prison, where Jigsaw paid a group of superpowered villains known as the Wrecking Crew to kill him, although an ally of the Punisher paid the Rhino to help him escape. Ironically, it was later revealed that Billy's own son Henry was helping the Punisher, in part to get back at his father for his traumatic childhood. Despite this betrayal, Billy protected his son and gutted one of his crime partners with a knife when they tried to kill Henry during a battle against the Punisher. Nevertheless, Henry let his father fall to his death into the flames of a burning building at the conclusion of that confrontation. However, Billy survived, his face now additionally disfigured with horrible burn scars. And that's Jigsaw's history. Now, Jigsaw has no superpowers to speak of, but he is a remarkably skilled mobster and assassin. He's an especially experienced street fighter, likely the best in all of New York City, and is in peak condition due to his obsessive training to kill the Punisher. Jigsaw is also an adept marksman with a variety of firearms and skilled at using knives and explosives. One of his greatest assets is his especially high tolerance for pain, which can partially be attributed to his damaged nerve endings. He's also quite a brilliant tactician, being the most successful hitman in New York prior to his disfigurement, and although he's become pretty mentally unhinged since then, he's still among the Punisher's most scheming and dangerous foes. For this match, he'll have an automatic rifle, a .44 Magnum, and a switchblade.
Oh, a Magnum.
Yeah, big ol' hand cannon. Dirty Harry style.
There were actually quite a few more similarities to Two-Face than I thought there would be. Before becoming Two-Face, Harvey Dent was also, quite a handsome guy. Probably more handsome than Jigsaw.
Oh, really? Was he nicknamed the Butte?
I mean, he was nicknamed...
Then he wasn't as handsome.
All right, let me get into Two-Face's backstory. Harvey Dent was raised in Gotham City with his alcoholic and abusive father, Christopher Dent. When Harvey was a young boy, his father had a habit of flipping a silver dollar coin, promising not to beat Harvey if the coin came up tails. It wasn't until later in life that Harvey discovered his father's coin was a trick two-headed coin. The mental and physical trauma Harvey's father inflicted on him scarred Harvey psychologically, so while he would grow to become a handsome and successful lawyer, marrying a beautiful woman named Gilda, he had also developed bipolar disorder and was a paranoid schizophrenic. And though he managed his conditions well, his repressed anger issues occasionally led to a hostile temperament. Eventually, Dent became the Gotham City District Attorney, responsible for prosecuting the city's criminals. Adored by the media and steadfast in his dedication to upholding the law, Dent was successful in single-handedly dealing by-the-book blows to the criminal empire of Gotham's most powerful and notorious organized crime boss, Carmine Falcone. After several failed assassination attempts by Falcone, Dent allied himself with Batman and Commissioner Jim Gordon to dismantle Gotham's organized crime completely. Batman's alter ego, Bruce Wayne, was also involved, and he and Dent became good friends. During their war on organized crime, a serial killer known only as Holiday happened to be targeting members of the mob, and many of them, as well as Batman and Commissioner Gordon, weren't unconvinced Dent was the killer due to hints of his emotional instability. While questioning mob boss Salvatore Maroni in court, Maroni threw a vial of sulfuric acid at Dent, believing he was responsible for the death of his father at the hands of the Holiday killer. The acid burned the left side of Dent's face and he was hospitalized. Disturbed by his disfigurement, Dent's repressed trauma resulted in a new psychological personality, the violent and wrathful Two-Face, who Dent struggled with over control of his actions. In order to choose which personality took control, Dent would use his father's two-headed coin, also scarred by the acid, to help make his decisions. After breaking out of the hospital, one of Two-Face's first actions was to kill Carmine Falcone, for which he was imprisoned in Arkham Asylum. It was later revealed the Holiday killer, who killed on holidays, was not one but two different people: Carmine Falcone's son, Alberto, and Harvey Dent's wife, Gilda. Prior to becoming Two-Face, Harvey and his wife had trouble conceiving children, and Gilda resented Harvey for wasting his time and risking his life taking on the mob. She used his case files to track down and kill the mobsters he was targeting so that he could spend time with her instead of working. Alberto Falcone began copying her MO, however, and later took responsibility for all of the killings. After Dent became Two-Face, Gilda fled Gotham City without anyone ever knowing she was the killer and escaping justice. Harvey eventually escaped Arkham and finished his work, dismantling and killing Gotham's organized crime members, making him responsible for shifting the balance of power in Gotham's underworld from the mob to Batman's freakish rogues gallery. Dent blamed both Batman and Commissioner Gordon for his transformation into Two-Face, and managed to put both on a mock trial individually to pay for their quote-unquote crime during the Nightfall and No Man's Land storylines.
Why did he blame them?
Because without their help, he wouldn't have been able to take on the mob as effectively. And because he threatened the mob so much, they retaliated against him, thinking that he was also killing them as the Holiday killer.
That's a stretch, but he's crazy, so makes sense.
Now, Batman simply escaped his trial, but Gordon managed to convince Two-Face that he had a right to a defense attorney, requesting Harvey Dent specifically. Due to his split psyche, Dent was able to cross-examine Two-Face and eventually came to the conclusion that Gordon and Batman were not guilty for him becoming Two-Face.
Nice.
In a one-shot titled Crime and Punishment, Two-Face kidnapped his father, Christopher, to punish and kill him for the abuse he suffered as a child. It was revealed, however, that despite the abuse, Dent still loved his father and paid for his expensive home so that he didn't have to live in a slum. Unable to deal with his own duality and wanting to bring the Two-Face persona to justice, Dent flipped a coin to determine whether or not he should commit suicide. With the scarred side turning up, Two-Face followed through and jumped off a building, only to be saved by Batman. Later, Dent learned that his ex-wife Gilda remarried a man named Paul Janus, and they had twins. Dent kidnapped Janus and took the twins hostage, only for Batman to save them. It was revealed soon after that the twins were really Dent's biological children. In the Hush storyline, a plastic surgeon named Thomas Elliot restored the left side of Dent's face to normal, curing him of his dual personality. Dent then betrayed the villain Hush, shooting him in order to save Batman's life. Batman, his trust renewed in Dent, trained him to be Gotham's newest vigilante protector, while Batman left Gotham City for a year in order to further train Nightwing and Robin abroad. When Batman returned, a series of mysterious murders using Two-Face's MO of shooting a victim twice in the head caused Batman to confront Dent. Dent claimed innocence, and in his frustration and feelings of being betrayed and unneeded, Dent's Two-Face persona re-emerged, taunting and convincing Dent to re-scar the left side of his face with nitric acid and a scalpel. A new, deadlier Two-Face was born, just as Batman discovered evidence proving Dent's innocence in the murders.
Oh, man.
In post-Flashpoint continuity, Harvey Dent was a successful defense attorney who was coerced into becoming a secret mob lawyer for the McKillen crime family, who placed a hit contract on Commissioner Gordon and his family. The assassination attempt was unsuccessful, and Dent was conflicted over whether he should snitch on the McKillens due to attorney-client confidentiality. Gordon's near-death experience prompted Bruce Wayne to fund a successful campaign for his best friend Harvey Dent to become District Attorney of Gotham City. Dent's first act was to prosecute the McKillens, who retaliated by killing Dent's wife Gilda in front of him and pouring acid on his face. Dent was driven insane by the ordeal and turned to villainy, and he later revealed to Batman that he knew he was Bruce Wayne, but that his split personality and dual nature prevented him from betraying his best friend. Now, Two-Face has no powers, but he is a criminal mastermind and renowned expert in criminal law, often able to escape criminal charges in court. He's an expert marksman and sniper, having paid the assassin Deathstroke to train him, and he's an advanced martial artist/detective after being trained by Batman himself to protect Gotham City in his absence. He often carries 2 semi-automatic handguns, occasionally with acid-filled bullets, but he's also known to use Tommy guns, and he's particularly fond of double-barreled shotguns due to an obsession with the number 2. For this episode's speculative battle, Two-Face will have just the shotgun and 2 handguns, since we have a rule that the characters can't prepare for the duel. Of course, Two-Face's major weakness is that he could only make major decisions, like, killing someone with the flip of a coin due to a split personality.
So he's never killed anyone without flipping his coin?
Well, he's always conflicted. Like, if it's self-defense, both of his sides are probably going to agree that, they could kill someone. But, if he's in a position of power, both sides of him may not agree as to whether or not they should execute someone.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Now let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not the speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this could play out.
We don't set any rules for this match, other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the other character is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Plus, certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merit. So let's get into it. The characters meet on the battlefield, 50 meters apart. Who goes first?
Well, I mean, we have to start the match with a flip of a coin. I mean, Two-Face has to decide whether or not he starts off with his shotgun or his handguns. You know, he just can't decide.
Well, I mean, he should start off with his handguns, right? Because they're better at long range than his shotgun.
No one said using the coin was smart. It's just something he's compelled to do when he's conflicted.
Well, while Two-Face is busy flipping his coin to decide which weapons to use, Jigsaw doesn't have to do that. He's just going to start shooting at Two-Face with his automatic rifle.
Okay, well, that's definitely going to make Two-Face, start moving and running for cover. I think both sides can agree that they need to do that. But just as Jigsaw starts firing, the coin lands handgun. So as he's running, Two-Face is an expert marksman. He draws his handgun as he's moving, takes aim, and shoots a acid bullet at Jigsaw's rifle, just melting it.
Two-Face shoots Jigsaw's gun?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good move. A good way to disarm Jigsaw of that gun right away off the bat.
And now that Jigsaw is disarmed, Two-Face moves in for the kill, running closer to him as he pulls out his shotgun. Just blasts Jigsaw full of buckshot.
No, because Jigsaw, sees Two-Face running toward him, switching to his shotgun. So before Two-Face can even get off a shot, Jigsaw, tomahawks his now useless automatic rifle, which knocks the gun off its target, and the shotgun blast never hits him. Jigsaw then rushes Two-Face and punches him twice, one in each side of his face.
What?
Just really hard. Pow, pow.
Okay, but I mean, Two-Face is a better martial artist than Jigsaw, right? He was trained by Batman. So he retaliates by swinging his shotgun into Jigsaw's kneecaps, just making him collapse to the ground. So,
you took out the kneecaps?
Yep, exactly. Total gangster move to do. So with Jigsaw on the ground, Two-Face has his shotgun pointed right at him, point blank.
But he's not going to kill him, right? Not without his coin.
I mean, probably. So Two-Face takes out his coin, to decide whether Jigsaw lives or dies, and he flicks it into the air.
Jigsaw is probably totally weirded out by this. He's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why doesn't he just freaking shoot me? So he's probably a little bit amused. He sees Two-Face flip this coin, and he sees this as kind of like a distraction, an opening to act. So while the coin is in the air, Jigsaw reaches behind him and pulls this .44 Magnum out of his waistband and just shoots Two-Face right in his chest. Bam, leaving a big old hole and ending this match.
Well, surprise! Two-Face just happens to be wearing a high-grade bulletproof vest. So, yeah, he gets shot in the chest and he goes flying backwards injured, but he doesn't die.
First of all, since when does he wear a bulletproof vest?
Well, I mean, he flipped a coin in the morning as to whether or not he should wear it or not. And it came up heads, so he put it on.
Just in case. You never know.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But Two-Face, he's gonna be so dang knocked out from this blow. So he's gonna be on the ground just reeling from the pain of this, giving a chance for Jigsaw to get up onto his feet, and he picks up the coin that Two-Face had tossed up off the ground, and he sticks it into his pocket.
Okay, Two-Face is gonna want to get that coin back. He's gonna need it back, actually.
Okay, sure, yeah. Come and get it while you're on the ground, in pain. Jigsaw walks toward Two-Face and pulls the hammer back on his Magnum again, points at him, and just shoots him again.
Okay, but before he could get that shot off, Two-Face shoots Jigsaw with his acid bullets, just melting him.
Except that, surprise, Jigsaw was wearing a bulletproof vest too. And he had the coin in his pocket, so this acid bullet that hits him gets him right in the chest, and it hurts Jigsaw, and it probably melts off his body armor, but it probably also melts that coin.
I mean, if anything, it was the tails side, the scarred side that was melted. So, it just falls out of Jigsaw's shirt as that's melting, along with his bulletproof vest and chest skin.
Oh, jeez. Is there enough acid within the capsule to burn away that much?
It's not a capsule, it's a bullet. This isn't like a paintball or anything like that,
Oh. So it's like a hollow point bullet or something, just filled with the acid inside?
Yeah, sure, and we'll say there's enough acid to definitely do some damage to Jigsaw's physical body, not just his vest.
So now with some of Jigsaw's chest disfigured, he's just pissed. So he just jumps onto Two-Face, pinning him down. Jigsaw pulls out his switchblade and just starts carving the skin off of Two-Face's normal side of his face, turning him into one face.
That is exceptionally violent. He's just skinning the guy's face off. Dang.
It's a very Jigsaw move, though.
I mean, if he probably did that, though, he'd probably just cure Two-Face of his split personality. So, it wouldn't be that big of a thing. But also, I mean, again, Two-Face, he's a good martial artist. Before Jigsaw can carve off most of his remaining face, Two-Face would probably use his Batman-taught martial arts skills to expertly maneuver so that Jigsaw is now pinned to the ground. And Two-Face pulls out his gun and presses it against Jigsaw's temple, picking his coin up off the ground nearby. But before Two-Face could end this match, he has to give a flip of the coin. Heads, Jigsaw lives, and tails, Jigsaw dies. And I happen to have a coin right here, so let's give this thing a flip.
Let's see what happens.
Oh, I didn't catch it. Tails, baby, he's dead.
I don't believe you. Let me see that.
Boom.
I can't even tell through the camera. It's too blurry. We got to start recording these episodes together again because I think that you're actually cheating and that it actually landed on heads. Jigsaw actually lives and uses his switchblade to stab Two-Face right in the throat. Match over.
I totally did not cheat, but let's run the simulations and find out who actually would win according to the stats. We'll be right back with the winner.
All right, that was a pretty gruesome and violent match, but you would kind of expect nothing less from these two really ruthless mobster characters.
Yeah, for sure.
All things considered, since neither of them really have superpowered abilities, their statistics weren't that impressive, but we still managed to find quite a few discrepancies between the two characters. Jigsaw had some added durability due to his higher pain tolerance, due to the fact that a lot of his nerve receptors are gone. But Two-Face got the advantage in damage with his acid capsules that could damage a wider spread area.
And it wasn't just the acid bullets, though. It was also the fact that he was a trained marksman by Deathstroke.
Yeah, and the training with Batman also made Two-Face a better fighter. That, alongside with his law degree, we said that he was smarter than Jigsaw, but we gave him a knock down in the perception stat due to his over-reliance on his coin. We said that that was a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's a severe mental handicap, actually.
In other areas like speed, evasiveness, and range, the characters came out similarly. So they weren't quite as identical as I thought they would be. Now, considering all of those stats, who do you think won this match?
I definitely think Two-Face is going to come out on top. He's just a little bit better trained than Jigsaw. Who in his own right is a very skilled mercenary, but he doesn't have the skill set of someone like Batman or Deathstroke. What I'm not sure about, though, is how much Two-Face won by it. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lot. According to our social media followers, 67% of them thought that Two-Face would win.
That probably just means that only 3 people voted.
I think it was over 20 people who voted.
That's a larger number, but I'm going to chalk that up to a popularity contest right there, considering that Two-Face is more well-known than Jigsaw.
That's fair.
But the winner of this duel between Two-Face and Jigsaw is... Where's my coin?
What?
It's Two-Face.
I knew it. I totally knew it. I called it.
Two-Face won 538 out of 1,000 matches, whereas Jigsaw only won 462.
That's not a huge win.
No, I mean, the characters were fairly comparable. Two-Face did manage to pull off a slight victory, though. Which doesn't make sense to me because of that stupid coin. Jigsaw would just shoot the coin out of the air and shoot Two-Face in the face. I don't get why Two-Face's handicap didn't play a larger factor, but it didn't, and he was able to compensate in other areas. If Jigsaw had known that Two-Face had that handicap, though, from the beginning, he could have just made this simple and made the match from the beginning a matter of a coin toss. He could have been like, heads I live, tails you die.
Two-Face would have been like, wait a minute. This is another win in DC's book. I'm pretty sure I'm ahead in the wins. That's great news for me.
God, you've won a few in a row now. It's stupid.
Yeah.
We're going to have to end that with the next duel, which will actually be in a few weeks, and it'll be our big episode 200 where we pit the Fantastic Four against the JSA. And that win is sure to be Marvel, and it's going to be really sweet.
I'm pretty sure you're going to lose that one too.
That does it for this duel. Let us know what you thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And also don't forget to check out cufflinks.com, where once again you can get 15% off your order by using the code DUEL15.
And also don't forget about fellow listener CJ Craft's collection of short stories that he wrote in a digital ebook on Amazon that you can download for just $1.50. help support a fellow listener, and get spooked for the Halloween season. And that's it for this episode. Our next episode will be a review of the upcoming DC animated film Batman: Death in the Family. Now, it's a prequel to Under the Red Hood that has a choose-your-own-adventure feature that results in different scenarios playing out. And that'll be interesting to explore and to review.
I'm not actually sure if we will get to experience the interactive part because I don't think it's going to be part of the digital download, but we'll see. If it's not, there's still a lot of other shorts that are a part of the collection that we'll get a chance to review as well. Sort of like our Superman/Shazam Return of Black Adam review.
We want to remind everyone to please subscribe to our show if you haven't, or please leave a rating or review on your platform of choice. Sharing the show on social media or in person is also a big help for us.
We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, Ken Johnson, Jace Crump, John Starosky, John Speas, and our newest executive producer, Isaiah Bethune, for helping make this podcast possible. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Up, and away.
True believers.